You gave this talk on your podcast, Welcome to the Abyss of Infinite Lunacy. It's every day we're inundated. Where is it coming from, and what is the most lunatical thing, most lunatic thing you've seen so far?
Well, it's a tough competition to find a winner, and that's why I listed 21, but I could have gone for 2,100 ones. Look, it all comes from a set of idea pathogens that were spawned on university campuses. That's the whole point of my book, The Parasitic Mind. So parasitic ideas include postmodernism, militant feminism, social constructivism, identity politics, biophobia, the fear of using biology to explain human behavior. So all of these, when they're put together, create a complete departure from reason, and hence the abyss of infinite lunacy.
One thing you talk about is how these ideas have a kernel of truth to them, and they always have a noble goal at the end. So that's important to realize, but what do we do with that, and why do they take it so far?
Well, because as I say, you're exactly right. They start with a kernel of truth, and then in the desire to instantiate some noble cause, let's say we want to create equality across the sexes. So equity feminism is something that you and I would certainly agree to. Equity feminism basically says there should be no institutionalized, barriers to an equal playing field for men and women. They should be equal under the law. The problem then comes when that metamorphosizes into militant feminism, which in the service of that original noble goal then argues that there are no such things as evolved sex differences. Men and women are indistinguishable from each other. All differences between men and women are largely due to social construction. So in the pursuit of a laudable goal, you end up murdering truth. And I argue that we should be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. I could be a strong supporter of, a just world without ever ceding an inch of truth in the pursuit of that goal.
So good. Okay, can we talk about gender differences? Because I think this is one of the most important things today is that we identify what the gender differences are, and obviously you can provide the insight into where they came from. And I would argue we need to really lean into and accentuate those gender differences because we complement each other in beautiful ways that are being, as you said, destroyed. So let's identify these. What are the differences between male and female?
So let's take it back to the root of the theoretical framework that explains sex differences. So Charles Darwin argued that there are two mechanisms by which a species evolves. There's natural selection. These are traits that a species will evolve to have because it confers a survival advantage. So for example, in the human context, the fact that you and I have evolved gustatory preferences for fatty foods makes perfect sense because our ancestors evolved in an environment of caloric scarcity and caloric uncertainty, and that's why you and I prefer to eat, a fatty, juicy steak than, say, raw celery. So that would be an example of natural selection. Sexual selection is the mechanism that explains how a trait evolves, not because it confers a survival advantage, but a reproductive advantage. So, for example, the peacock's tail could not have evolved to be of that size and that conspicuous nature because it actually reduces the survivability of the peacock. It makes it harder for him to avoid predators, right? Therefore, that tail must have evolved through a dual process called sexual selection, namely through recurring female mate choice. Females prefer the male with the large appendage because it signals his honest phenotypic quality. It says, look, the fact that I have this big tail and I'm still here and I haven't been eaten means that I am the top genetic dog. Choose me. This is called the handicapping mechanism. Well, take this principle and apply it to all sexually reproducing species, right? So in many species, the males and females look exactly alike. In other words, they don't have any sexual dimorphism. In the human context, we are a sexually dimorphic species. For example, men are on average bigger than women, taller than women. There are some things that we are exactly the same on, and some things that men and women are very much different on. And the only way to explain that is through the lens of evolutionary theory. So there's nothing racist or Nazi-like or bigoted in arguing that men and women are on some things similar and on some things different. It's the basis of evolutionary theory.
Wow, that was deep and insightful. I want more of that. Like, subscribe, get more.